Hello, and today we're going to be doing my Fluency project number 1, and this is my sister Mariah that I'm going to use as my client. So we're gonna get started. Okay, so nice to meet you. My name is Julissa Mendoza, and I'm gonna be your SLP, and so I'm just gonna ask you a bunch of questions, okay? All right, so first off, how old are you?
I am 26.
Okay. And how long have you stuttered?
Ooh, maybe since I was probably 4 or 5. So it's been a long time.
Okay. And how do you think your parents reacted once you had a stutter and when you started developing more and more growing up?
Honestly, to know their first reaction, I honestly don't know. I never bothered to even ask them, but I'm pretty sure they were concerned and wanted me to learn how to control it instead of just letting it go out of control to where I wasn't making sense anymore. But it has progressed. It's something that you can't just go. It stuck with me. It's just how my brain works. My brain just works like a scratched CD where it repeats the same thing over and over until it can get through.
Okay. And so when did you start your treatment for your stutter? Like how old and what grade were you?
Probably, I would say kindergarten, but I don't really remember much going to a speech therapist in kindergarten, so I would say probably first grade. During school and after school, I would go after school to a speech therapist, and it went on all the way till junior high to like 8th grade year.
Okay. And how do you think the effects of stuttering have affected you in terms of academics, your social life, work, or your personal life?
Just basically, just really nervous. I get really nervous when I meet new people because if I tend to stutter in front of them, I always feel like I'm judged silently. Or, but like for social gatherings, I try not to let it spill out as much. It only comes out when I'm extremely nervous for like school projects, for like public speaking. I get nervous and it tends to come out. But other than that, I just make it come out naturally.
And what do you avoid? Like, do you avoid speaking in large settings? Do you hate group projects? Not speaking in front of people you don't know? What do you avoid?
I really don't avoid anything. If I have to speak in front of a large crowd or group projects or a group presentation, I just do my best at it. I just take a deep breath and just think about what I'm gonna say and then just say it the best way that I can without stuttering. If a stutter does tend to come out, I'll tend to correct myself very quickly as possible as I can. So I don't avoid those situations at all. I just tend to go for it.
Okay. And do you have any negative emotions or attitudes towards your stutter, or if not in yourself, towards others that have negative emotions and attitudes towards those who have a stuttering disorder?
I naturally don't have it. I mean, I've been so used to it. It's just how the way I talk. But there's been times where I always imagine like how would my life would have been like if I never had it. Like how would I have been? Would I have more friends? Would I have not done this in school? But honestly, it never really bothered me. So I've always just found it just to have like a unique thing about me.
Okay. And what are the reasonings for you coming to a speech therapist? What would you want to improve, or what would you want more help on?
Just well, maybe just to learn how to control it a lot more often. I mean, I've learned how to in the past from my past speech therapist, but there's times where I forget to even like to take a breath and speak, because there's times where I'll just say something and then I tend to get stuck and then I can't stop myself before it's like it gets too late for me to stop.
Okay. we're gonna do an oral facial exam, and I'm just gonna ask you to do a couple of things for me. So give me 1 second. So I just pull this up real quick so we can do it. Okay. So have you like straight ahead. So I don't see any eye drooping, or any lip drooping, or asymmetry. So everything looks fine. So can you wrinkle your forehead or look up at the ceiling without moving your head? Okay. Can you wrinkle your forehead? Okay. So I don't see any right or left side paralysis, which indicates damage to the frontalis muscle. Okay, so I'm gonna have you close your eyes as tight as possible. And I don't see any deviations in the right or left side. Okay, you can. And then I'm gonna have you pucker your lips. I don't see any drooping in the right or left side. Okay. And then I'll have you smile and pull back the corners of your lips so I can kind of see if there's any drooping. Okay. I don't see any drooping. Okay. So let me see. Can you show me your teeth while frowning? Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Alrighty. So I don't see any weakness in the right or left side or any damage. Okay. So now I'm just going to move on to 3 different things, and it's just going to be different questions that I'll have you answer. Okay, so when you are in the situation of having a phone conversation, do you typically speak fluently? Do you stutter, or do you experience any tension or anxiety? All 3, or just one or the other?
It depends on the phone call. If it's a family or friend conversation, I'm naturally calm, but if it's for business or for important information, I tend to get more nervous.
Okay. And when you're on the phone with your friends, do you speak fluently, stutter, or any tension or anxiety?
I stutter.
You stutter, okay. And let's see. When you're having a heated discussion on a controversial topic, like maybe politics or something that you don't agree on, do you speak fluently, or do you stutter or experience any tension or anxiety?
I will say I speak fluently.
Okay. And when you're talking to infants and babies, how do you?
I would say fluently.
Okay. And when you're justifying your actions to someone, do you stutter, or speak fluently, or experience any tension or anxiety?
Maybe stutter and like anxiety.
Okay. And when you're narrating a personal experience, maybe some trip that you went on or something you experienced in your life, do you speak fluently, stutter, any tension or anxiety?
I will say fluently.
Okay. And let's see, when you're giving directions to someone, how do you think you speak? Or anxious or tension?
I would say fluently.
Okay. When you're asking someone for directions, what do you think?
Maybe nervous.
Nervous? Okay.
Anxiety.
When you're saying something in a hurry, how do you think?
A stutter.
Okay. When you're clarifying something you just said to someone, what do you think?
It comes out more fluently.
Okay. And when you're ordering in a restaurant, what do you think?
I would say a little stutter.
Okay. When you're giving a quick answer to a question, or a slick response, what do you think?
I would say fluently.
Okay. When you're singing a song, do you speak fluently, stutter, or any tension or anxiety?
Fluently.
Okay. When you're buying a ticket at a counter, or maybe even buying food at a stand, or ordering coffee or something, what do you think?
I say stutter.
Okay. When you're talking to your pet animals?
Fluently.
Okay. Raising your hand in a group discussion?
I would say fluently.
Answering questions in an interview?
Fluently.
asking for a specific product in a store.
I would say fluently.
Okay. Talking with your significant other.
I would say a little fluently and stutter.
Okay. Giving a formal lecture to a group.
I would probably say stutter.
Okay. What about quickly interjecting your comment in a group discussion or a conversation?
I think I would probably go with tension.
Okay. And anxiety?
Yeah.
What about returning a phone call to someone who just called you and you missed it?
I would say a little stutter.
Okay. Let's see, maybe a conversation with a guy not being your boyfriend or something, just someone of the opposite sex.
I would say stutter.
Okay. And reading aloud in front of a group.
I would say tension and anxiety.
Okay. Alrighty. So we're gonna move to the next list that I have. Let's see. Okay. So let's see. So I'm gonna give you an example just on the questions that I'm gonna ask. So I would like to know how your fluency problem has affected your life, and I would like you to read the item in the manner. With my ability to talk with my family, I am, you're either satisfied, somewhat dissatisfied, or dissatisfied. Okay? So I'm just gonna ask you all these questions, and then you're just gonna tell me satisfied, somewhat dissatisfied, somewhat dissatisfied, or none.
Okay.
With your ability to talk to your family.
I would say satisfied.
Okay. With your friends.
Satisfied.
With your colleagues, so when you were in college, any peers.
A little satisfied.
Okay. With strangers.
Less.
So somewhat dissatisfied.
Yeah.
Okay. Members of the opposite sex.
Satisfied.
Okay. Authority figures, so maybe your parents or.
I would say satisfied.
Okay. What about your neighbors next door?
Satisfied.
Okay. What about with your ability to order in restaurants?
I would say a little satisfied.
Okay, so somewhat. What about talking over the phone?
A little.
Somewhat. Okay. Asking for directions?
Satisfied.
Okay. Introducing yourself?
Somewhat satisfied.
Okay. Giving your name and cell phone number to someone else?
Somewhat satisfied.
Okay. Controversial or social or political issues?
Somewhat satisfied.
Okay. Giving a talk in front of a large group?
Satisfied.
Okay. Quickly asking a question?
Satisfied.
Okay. Quickly responding to a question?
Satisfied.
Using the right words?
Satisfied.
Okay. Expressing your feelings and opinions?
Satisfied.
Interjecting your comments in a group discussion?
Somewhat satisfied.
Okay. Talking to salespersons in stores?
Satisfied.
Okay. What about with your ability to enjoy social relationships?
Satisfied.
Enjoying personal relationships?
Satisfied.
Achieving your educational goals?
Satisfied.
Performing a job?
Somewhat satisfied.
Okay. Let's see. Achieving your life goals?
Satisfied.
Okay. What about feelings and thoughts about yourself?
Satisfied.
Level of self-confidence?
Satisfied.
And then general quality of your life?
Satisfied.
Okay. Alrighty, and then we are just going to move on to the last questions that I have. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you avoidance of speaking situations, and you're going to say infrequently avoided, meaning you don't avoid them, or 2 is gonna be frequently avoided. So so 1 is gonna be you don't avoid them, 2 is gonna be yes, I do avoid those situations. So you can just say 1 or 2, or 0 just means not avoided at all.
Okay.
Saying one's own name.
1.
Okay. Responding to roll calls.
1.
Speaking situations.
1.
Ordering in restaurants.
1.
Speaking on the phone.
2.
Introducing yourself.
2.
Giving your personal phone number or address.
2.
Speaking in front of a class or a social group.
1.
Reading aloud in front of a class.
2.
Answering questions in the classroom.
1.
Let's see. Saying the names of your family members.
1.
Asking for directions when you're lost.
1.
Okay. So next I'm going to ask about other speaking situations you avoid to avoid stuttering, not just speaking, okay?
Mm.
So depending on others for communication needs.
2.
Gesturing instead of speaking. So maybe nodding your head instead of having to say yes, or nodding your head no instead of no.
1.
Okay. Having a family member ask for something in a store instead of you asking.
2.
Okay. Pretending not to hear a question.
1.
Pretending to be thinking when questions are asked.
1.
Okay. Pretending to not know an answer.
1.
Okay. Pretending ignorance of a word on which stuttering is likely. So maybe avoiding a certain word which you think that you're going to stutter on.
I'll say 2.
Letting others finish a word or complete a sentence for you.
2.
Coughing or throat clearing before saying a difficult word.
2.
Whispering.
1.
Talking in a soft voice.
1.
Talking in a loud voice.
2.
Talking in an impersonated tone, so maybe like a character or something.
1.
Okay. And talking with an unusual physical posture, maybe like you're slouching or something when you're talking.
2.
Okay. Talking with an exaggerated articulation, so maybe putting emphasis on one word versus another.
2.
So other strategies you use to avoid stuttering. And this is just avoidance of like conversational partners, so people. So what about with strangers?
2.
Okay. Bosses or authority figures.
1.
Okay. Persons of opposite sex.
1.
Peers, colleagues.
1.
Friends.
1.
Neighbors.
1.
We're going to say avoidance of certain words. So substitution of one word for another. Maybe one word that you think you're not going to stutter on versus a word you will stutter on.
1.
Okay. Beating around the bush instead of saying something directly.
1.
Okay. Pretending to not know a word.
1.
Refusing to say a particular word.
2.
Saying this thing and that thing frequently.
1.
Okay. Other strategies you use to avoid specific words. This is just about talking about stuttering. So switching the topic when stuttering is mentioned.
2.
Okay. Leaving the room when a conversation is started about stuttering.
1.
Getting upset when asked about stuttering.
2.
Refusing to talk about others people's reactions to stuttering.
2.
Refusing to talk about peers or bosses' reactions to stuttering.
2.
Unwilling to talk about stuttering and associated emotional experiences.
2.
Okay. And then this is just about maybe avoidance of talking in general. So keeping quiet when someone asks you a question.
2.
Okay. Avoiding discussion on controversial issues, maybe something you won't agree on or someone else will disagree on.
2.
Not taking part in social conversations, maybe you just only talk to a few people instead of hopping into large groups of conversations.
1.
Okay. Avoiding eye contact during conversation.
1.
Okay. And reducing the amount of talking in general.
2.
Okay. Alrighty, and that's everything that I have to ask for you today. Alright, thank you.